Wake up, Gary.
What?
Come back to us.
You're on, Gary.
Come back to us, Honorable Gary Hopper.
Where was
host
I?
of
Where was
Rock,
I? Where
Paper,
am I? Where
Hangings.
rock paper? Eric, I know you.
That's me. That's right.
Yes,
That's good.
yes,
This is promising.
That's right. That's good. That's good.
He's joined us again. Hi, folks.
Hi, welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's our guest? Who do we got?
Just wanted to take a moment of
who
clarity.
Who do we got?
And here we are.
Who do we got? Hey.
We have an absolute hero of the state
No,
legislature.
no, he's not a hero. He's
Oh,
bad. You
oh,
got an
no,
F,
no, no, he's
F,
a hero.
F.
I thought I was a villain.
A villain. He's a villain.
Well, you see, in movie land, which is a
Yes.
thing I do a lot of, there's really little distinction between heroes and villains. It depends on who you are.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
You know, there's a fine line between that.
So you're saying like the Wicked Witch of the West is a hero?
Oh, no, she's a very sympathetic victim.
Why
of
is she
a strange
victim?
series of events.
Well, she obviously
just
she's
has
not a
bad
victim.
taste
she
in
hadn't
shoes.
taken a shower forever, obviously.
And we digress. We have on the show today a wonderful state representative named
Thank you very
John
much.
Burt.
Oh, John, yeah.
The Honorable John Burt, and he is from the town of Goffstown, representing the good people of Goffstown.
Yes.
He's joined us today because we have a most likely quite spirited discussion about a topic that's been on a lot of people's minds lately.
Yes.
Gary, why don't you tell them about that?
Well, I wanted to first get started and talk about llamas.
Llamas.
Because they're related, of
It
course.
is related because a lot of times llamas like
Not to
that-
Gary llamas, but they're
The thing,
to the
well, no,
topic.
no, because the thing is,
You mean
they-
like those furry animal llamas?
Yeah.
right, but they seem innocent, right?
Yeah, they're cute.
You should no. That's just it. That's what I want to talk about. Is you don't know where your assault's going to come from, and that's why we need to be able to be armed anywhere we are.
From
Paul, could you cue the video to show what I mean? This is
Carl, there's
Oh.
a dead human in our house.
Oh, hey! How did he get here?
Carl, what did you do?
Me? I didn't do this.
Explain what happened, Carl.
I've never seen him before in my life.
Why did you kill this person, Carl?
I do not kill people. That is my least favorite thing to do.
Tell me, Carl, exactly what you were doing before I got home.
All right. Well, I was upstairs.
Okay.
I was sitting in my room.
Yes.
Reading a book.
Go on.
And well, this guy walked in.
Okay.
So I went up to him.
Yes.
And I stabbed him 37 times in the chest.
Carl, that kills people.
Wow! I didn't know that.
How could you not know that?
Yeah, I'm in the wrong here. I suck.
What happened to his hands?
What's that?
His hands. Why are they missing?
Well, I kind of cooked them up and ate them.
Carl.
Well, I was hungry, and well, you know, when you crave hands, that's.
Why on earth would you do that?
I was hungry for hands. Give me a break.
Carl.
My stomach was making the rumblies
Carl.
that only hands would satisfy.
What is wrong with you, Carl?
Well, I kill people and I eat hands. That's two things.
and that's exactly why you don't know where the assault's going to come from, John.
Yes, that is true. I guess you got to be ready.
You've scarred all my happy childhood memories
Oh.
of visits to the petting zoo.
Oh, you should be scarred. It's good. It's a good thing you didn't know that earlier. You didn't know what danger you were in when you went to that petting zoo.
I subjected my children to risk like that?
Yes, you did. I know.
So
I know.
ashamed.
Should we pass a law against
Llamas?
for child
With hats.
abuse?
We should pass a law against llamas. You should have a permit.
But only if they have hats on, right? Or any llamas.
I think any llamas, because you don't know when they might put a hat on.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
that's just the attire. That's not the. It was because anyway.
Should we require licensing
You should
for
have a
the
license.
acquisition of hats for llamas?
Yes,
Because, that...
because I don't know if it's the hats
could
that
help.
cause them to go rogue and violent, or
Just ignore me. There's a TV off in here. It's been bugging me.
So don't look at the man behind the
no,
screen.
do not pay any
and-
attention. He is a pigment of our
And the voice of
imagination.
God,
Yes.
i.e. our producer Paul, has indeed been made flesh and appeared
Yes.
before you.
Hey, it worked. He
So
turned
that's
it-
almost like Carlton, the elevator guy.
The doorman, yeah.
yeah, the doorman. You never
Yeah.
saw him.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's our Carlton.
Now, do you have anybody that watches a show that's under 40? Because they wouldn't know who Carlton is. But anybody above 45, I'm guessing,
Right,
would know
right,
Carlton.
right. Yeah.
That's true.
No, there's like 3 people in Malaysia that are 28, 29, and
Yeah.
26, I think.
So they're not going to call in.
No, they haven't called in yet, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
So, but they might Google it. the kids these days, you know.
Oh, that's true.
You can just go. So anyway, you're a bad person,
Yes,
John
I
Burt.
am. Yes.
So some people would have you think.
Well, I know I'm very
So-
concerned.
You're
You know,
concerned.
Yes, about my well-being.
Why? Why would you be concerned about your well-being?
Well, because this poster that went out during the peaceful,
Peaceful, yeah.
anti-gun rallies.
Non-violent
Yes.
This rally was
showed
in,
a lot of violence.
love. It was a love fest about guns, right?
Yes. So should I hold it up?
Yeah. Show the folks at home if Paul can
And-
zoom in.
Look at that masterful control.
Yes.
Oh gosh,
the
that is
camera.
good. So if you look on one side, the
Yeah.
is
See
a
above
picture.
my name.
Yeah, there's the list of villains and heroes, and John is one of the first villains, right? Are you
Yes,
the first
it's
one on the
listed.
list?
And why did they list people as villains
Well,
or heroes?
I want to
what
know why
caused
they
them to
put
say
a bullet
that?
hole with blood coming out next to my name.
Is that a threat?
Isn't that a little concerning?
I
It's
would say
terribly
so.
concerning.
I'm assuming it is.
Well, what's the Democrats? Give me one of the good people on the list.
Well, they're saying the good people are Rainey Cushion, and I
okay,
do like.
so now, okay,
I do like him.
Yeah, I like a lot of people,
But I don't like his politics.
right. So if we posted a picture of Randy Cushing with a bullet hole
Near
with blood
his
coming
name.
out near his name, would that be considered?
Oh, they'd have a meltdown.
They would have a meltdown, wouldn't they?
They would have been triggered.
They would have. Yes.
I think anybody would feel a moment of pause, a little alarm, seeing something like that
Now, who-
distributed to a large crowd of people.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Now, who published that?
Some lady in Maine. I have her name.
So this was voluntarily put together by a private
the
individual.
organization.
No,
you
that's
can
not voluntarily.
no,
put
you
together.
No?
you can look it
Okay.
up. She's from Maine.
All right.
But she wants to, be in our politics here. The Resistance Seacoast.
Resistance Seacoast.
.com
I see. Okay.
is what it is, and she's the founder of Green Alliance.
Well,
Okay.
you know what I found profoundly ironic. First of all, for the folks at home, you had all these protests last Saturday
Yes.
afternoon,
Holding these signs.
holding signs like that.
Yeah.
And if you watch the news, you would think that these teenagers from Florida organized all this.
Yes.
This is not even remotely true.
Zero-
It's not
No.
even close.
Yeah.
The people, what they did is the people that organized it, one of the big groups that organized it was Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood was the one who helped organize the Women's March when Trump got elected, and it's the same group of people that got involved to organize this.
Yeah.
And you can tell it was organized by somebody like that because it was nationwide. The kids got to walk out of school in Manchester for almost 20 minutes, right?
So they're not getting their common
So
core
if-
education.
No, listen. No, I think that they did a good job in Manchester as far as they didn't really take sides.
Yes.
But let me ask you, if you called the city of Manchester and said the kids want to walk out for 20 minutes to protest abortion,
First, you would hear
yes. So, okay,
the
so
telephone being hung up on
so-
you, then the police would be called on.
correct. So these people have very good connections to
Yes.
organize this anti-Second Amendment rally.
Well, this was a nationwide.
It was nationwide.
thing, and it's happened all in the space of about a month or
Yeah.
5 weeks, right? So that's some professional level
It
organizing.
was.
So the
Wouldn't you
boy
say?
down at that school that's doing the High Hitler.
I don't think he was doing a Heil Hitler. It was just a
Well,
fist pump type thing. No,
I know they're all spinning it that way.
they're spinning it that way, but so I posted on Facebook the other day because people were
They're
putting.
beating the heck out of them.
Well, yeah, but they were taking his
They are.
picture with his hand up like that and putting him in a Nazi costume.
Yeah, I disagree with
And the fact is, he's only 16 or 17 or some stupid thing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a
Well,
kid.
that. Now it's coming out that he wasn't even there, but I don't know if that's true.
I think he was there.
I mean, it was on Facebook.
it's-
Actually,
yes,
he's disclosed himself in interviews. He's disclosed himself that he was riding his bike to school because he heard there was trouble.
No, he
Has
was
he
at the
not?
school, and then he went home to get it to for a cell phone or something, then came back.
Okay.
So he was there at the school at the time. That's all.
At the time.
That's
Okay.
all just people trying to spin it against him.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
which is irrelevant because he still doesn't know what he's talking about, whether he was there or not.
Yes.
But God
But I
bless
did-
him for stepping up to say what he believes. It's
I
just
totally
sad.
agree with that.
Well,
It's
but I
just
don't think
sad
he
that
believes it. That's the thing, is he's being brainwashed, as far as I'm
Well, he really doesn't
Possibly.
believe it because he also was online talking about how the school. One of the solutions in the school was to have kids all have see-through backpacks. And
Well, he was against that.
Right.
Yes.
So obviously he doesn't understand freedom if he thinks one thing is oppressive and something else is
Yes.
needs to be oppressed.
Yes.
He totally doesn't get it because
Yeah.
he's just a teenager.
Yeah.
But what my point is, associating somebody like that with Hitler, who killed 6 million Jews, Christians, blacks, gays, gypsies, disabled people, making that correlation is totally ridiculous. It's just like the other idiots on the other side who say anybody who supported Trump has to be a Nazi. That's just
Yeah.
it's just all hyperbole and doesn't do anything except
Well, like the anti-gun group that was up at the State House when I went in as a state rep, the lady looked at me and she says, I had a little gun lapel pin.
that is
Sure.
scary. It is scary. You should see it. It's almost this big.
Yes. And she said, well, so the NRA, how much did they pay you for that?
Well,
And I-
she's used to that kind of
Well, they've been
setup on
told that
the-
all the time.
Oh, yeah, but I asked her, I
On her
told
side
her,
of
I
the
said, NRA what? I said, I'm not a member. I've never been a member. I said, I don't know anything about them. Matter of fact, I think they're kind of, sometimes they're a little weak on the issue of the Second Amendment.
Right.
But, and she goes, oh, well, how many, are you happy killing children all the time then? And I said, well, I'll be honest, your policies are getting our children killed. If they listened to me and arm our willing, trained teachers, we wouldn't have as many dead children in this country.
Right.
Because that's what they do in other parts of the world.
Right.
You see teachers with guns. They open carry over in some parts of the world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you go to Israel,
Israel,
Yeah.
absolutely.
they're so used to terrorism.
Yes.
And it's not like there isn't a law against the Palestinians coming in with guns. It's not like there isn't a law against Palestinians tying bombs to their bodies and walking into the crowded buses.
Yeah.
Okay? I believe there's a law against it.
Switzerland too. It's
Really?
a common thing. So
So if there's laws against it, why do they have to protect themselves?
I don't know. I don't know. It just seems bizarre. I mean, if you write a law against strapping a bomb to your body and going onto a bus
That should be
and
enough.
detonating it, that should be enough. That's all you really need right there is a law against it.
Well, like I always say, too, is, if we pass maybe 3, maybe 4 more gun control laws.
5. I
and
think 5 is a good number.
5 would be a good number. In Chicago, that probably would fix the issues out there.
Right. Right. Oh, wait, they did.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
it didn't.
well, maybe 10?
No, that's it. There's got to be more laws. That's all. That's the solution.
Yes, and that's what, that's what these kids are being brainwashed to think, that if we remove the guns from John Burt and his friends, everything will be safe.
Yeah.
And that's the farthest. And when I see that kid with his hand up, and you're probably right, he's probably just fist pumping or what he's doing there, but I wished he understood what history was, because that could happen here. When I say that, people go, "Oh, John, it would never happen in America."
It absolutely would happen in America.
You disarm us all.
The Germans were some of the most intelligent, well-educated people on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Okay? To presume that they were somehow superiorly ignorant. I don't know if that's. Can you guys say superiorly ignorant? Or does it sound ignorant when I say it? Anyway.
no, it makes a great adverb. It's just hard on the tongue.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost lost control of it for a second there, but you would have to assume that they were that ignorant is just so arrogant
Yeah.
to believe that in this country somehow a tyrant won't take over at some point,
Yeah.
and you will need to defend your family against tyranny and your neighbors against tyranny is absolute positive arrogance.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, ignorance.
Article 10 of the New Hampshire Constitution. Why did they put that in there? Tell the people what it is.
Article 10, what is it?
The right to revolt.
Okay, yes.
Okay, we have the right to revolt against arbitrary power. It not only says you have the right to revolt
You have the duty.
against arbitrary power, it says you have an obligation
You have
to
the
vote,
duty to do so.
Wow.
to fight back.
I remember seeing that one.
Right. It is the
yes.
greatest cotton-picking amendment in our Constitution.
We have one of the best, if not the best constitution
Oh, in the
as
country.
far as the states. are
Oh, yeah.
concerned,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've also been known to say that our forefathers would have exercised Article 10 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
they probably would
And
have.
for
They,
some
well, it
reason-
wouldn't have gotten this far.
Yes.
But we're too fat, dumb, and happy, and we're letting. Because oh, by the way, I got to tell you, I showed up at Goffstown Fish and Game last night because I'm a member over there.
Yes.
And I told them how. I told them, Jeff Goley,
Who was a guest on our
who
show
was
a
against
couple
the
of
show
weeks
a couple
ago.
of weeks ago,
Yeah.
Democrat
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, I like Jeff.
I like. Yeah, Jeff's a good guy. So anyway, Jeff Goley gave me a thing from the Humane Society. The Humane. I mean, because I think people should understand that the assaults on your liberty are massive and widespread. This is just a spearhead at this point in time.
Yes.
But the spearhead goes forward a little bit, and then it backs off, and it goes forward a little bit. It's relentless, and it's constant. And Jeff had me show the people at Fish and Game Club that the Humane Society is trying to get their foot in the door on the state New Hampshire Fish and Game Commission. And the Fish and Game Commission is the one who helps regulate seasons and all this other stuff with the Fish and Game Department.
That wouldn't be good.
And so
No.
there's a person that's actually a member of PETA that bought their hunting license for enough years in a row just so that they were eligible to become a Fish and Game Commissioner.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's a hell of a strategy.
Oh, it's pretty it's insane.
Well, their strategies are 25 to 50 year out.
Yes.
You know, they know most of them won't see, they'll all die before it's implemented, but they know that it will be implemented.
All
in
they have to
25
win
50
is
years.
incrementally.
Yep.
They don't, and that's the one reason they are tactically far superior to the right.
Yes.
The left is willing to take, a snippet of the apple, a little bite of the apple at a time, and eventually the apple's gone.
Yes.
Whereas the conservatives like us, the groups up at the State
Oh,
House.
yeah.
If it isn't everything,
Yep.
we don't want anything.
Yep.
Okay,
Then we're going to get nothing.
The
We got
perfect is
nothing.
the enemy of the good.
and
far
all
too
the
often.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I went and I talked to them about the Humane Society's efforts to try to encroach on their rights to go hunting and stuff, I also mentioned that you and I, John Burt from Goffstown, and I got an F.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you want to tell them what we got an F in, John? Because I was pretty ashamed of myself.
I'd be curious
Well,
what the grading was based on, but
Huh.
that'd be interesting.
yes.
I mean, I'm not unaccustomed to Fs in school, so this didn't
Well,
really
Granite State
shock me too much.
Progress.
Yeah,
is
it's
the-
Granite State Progress that put out
Okay.
this scorecard. And I and you, we had the identical votes. And an F
Wow.
minus. I did put an F plus on Facebook because I
doesn't
thought
like
that
you.
was worse. But F minus, I guess, is even worse. And what it is, it's House Bill 208 closing the background check loopholes.
Loophole.
Yeah. Oh, talking about loopholes, I went to a gun auction. I've never been to one.
Yeah.
And there was one right here in Manchester.
Uh-huh.
I was standing next to a gentleman, and when they sold the gun, all of a sudden, he said, I looked at him and I said, did that rifle just sell for $4,900 or was it $49,000?
Right,
Because
right.
you know how the auctioneers sold.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he says, unfortunately, 49,000
Right.
A rifle.
a rifle. And I went, okay, I'm out of my league here. And why is that unfortunate? He goes, because I own two of them, and I paid more than that. And he said what happened is 15 to 20 years ago, there was a 15 to 18 very wealthy men in this country that wanted all the guns. They wanted to buy up all the antiques.
Right. Yeah. Antiques.
Antiques.
We're talking antiques,
Yes.
not.
Yeah, not guns. So they raised all the prices because they knew they had unlimited money.
Yeah, and they would go to all the auctions and
Yes, or their people went. So what happened is then this gentleman that I spoke with and stood next to, he said if I wanted to buy one, I had to pay the higher price. Well, now 3/4 of them are dead. So that's where these guns are coming from. The families don't want them. They're like,
right.
Oh, the estates are liquidating their
yes. So that's what's
so the
happening. So,
prices-
now the prices are dropping.
Wow.
So, but when I was there, I looked at a group of guys, and I said, "Excuse me,"
Home wanted to see what this looked like.
and they looked at me and they said, "Yes."
Paul, could you zoom in on that just so people can see what the scorecard looks like?
No, so I told them, I said, "Could you tell me where the loopholes are so I can get free guns and bullets?" And they said, "Oh, that will be out by the dumpster in the back alley." And so
Thank you, Paul.
Well, I go
Thank you,
out
Paul.
there and there's nobody there.
No.
I was disappointed. I was like, "Okay, I'm here. Hello, where's the loophole?"
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I got voted on. I opposed this. So.
Yeah. By the way, so the people should know there is no loop,
No,
there is
no.
no loophole as far as guns. If you go on online and buy a gun, that gun is shipped to a licensed dealer.
Yes.
And you have to fill out the same form everybody else does.
In the background.
The federal form on have you committed any felonies? Are you smoking pot? Stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
And then the other bill that I got an F on was prohibiting firearms at polling places like schools and churches. So they want to regulate churches, which I thought the Constitution was very clear. There's a separation between state and church, but I guess not anymore.
No, the left doesn't care about the separation of church and state when when it benefits them.
Oh, okay.
They're selective
See, I'm,
about
They're
it.
selective about how they.
I'm glad I came on because I'm
Yeah.
very confused with this
Yeah,
stuff.
it's pretty confusing.
Yeah, but and then the other one where I failed terribly, you did too, ban bump stocks and raise the firearm purchase to 21
That is
years
actually a
old.
lie. We did not vote to ban that, or we did not vote against that.
It never got to us. It's a
Okay.
Senate bill.
Yes. No. That wasn't it.
Oh, what?
That they're talking about that one. In January, the end of December, January, you have to sign off on all bills that come before the House. Okay?
Yes.
And anything after that, you have to go through a special committee. Like, in other words, if there was event that happens, there's an infestation of llama attacks, and you need to write legislation to restrict the llamas, because nobody anticipated llamas were going to turn on everybody,
Yes.
then it would get through the Rules Committee to allow a late introduction of bills.
That's true.
Okay, so what the Democrats did to grandstand is they wanted to suspend the rules so that they could introduce legislation against a few things. I think bump stocks was one of them.
Yeah.
And
And I voted. I
that
voted
was
no.
and the Rules Committee said no because there wasn't something that you couldn't predict. It wasn't an unusual event that you couldn't have anticipated.
Yes.
And the Democrats did that just to grandstand, to say, oh, look, we're trying to do something to save the children, when in fact it was just show.
Yes.
That's all it was. It was a BS show, and we voted against it because it was just BS.
Yeah.
And we really didn't, that really wasn't a pro or anti gun legislation as much as it was a pro or anti grandstanding
Now,
vote.
the other two that we voted that are allegedly pro-gun that we got nailed on for getting our Fs is Senate Bill 12, which is over a year ago, allow dangerous, that's how they write it up, allow dangerous people to legally carry a hidden loaded gun. So it's constitutional carry.
Right.
So I have a right to carry a gun. Everybody in New
presume
Hampshire
anybody-
does, as long as you're not a felon.
So they
Prohibited.
presume that anybody that carries a gun concealed is dangerous?
Is dangerous.
So who and where is this hidden panel of experts and clairvoyants that declare who's dangerous and who isn't?
Well, one is that Xander Rice. She's a constituent of mine. I always wanted to ask her if she votes for me. I don't know.
Oh, you want to know something funny
That'd be
about Xandra?
What?
I'm not going to disclose whose house. I was at a friend's house, and she came over.
You have friends? Boy, I don't.
Right, I know, right?
Yeah.
She's sitting next to me at their kitchen table.
She is?
Right, she's sitting next to me No, it gets better than that. She's sitting next to me at my friend's kitchen table, and I'm installing a trigger in my Vepr 308. I got a new trigger for it because the old one was screwing up. So she's sitting there at the table where I'm reinstalling a trigger in my quote unquote assault weapon.
Wow. And she didn't run with her
No,
hair
she
on
didn't
fire?
run. She knows I'm not dangerous.
Yeah. Well, then the last one is force guns onto college campuses. We were going to force.
Force, yes.
Yeah, so
We're
we-
going to hand them out when
That's
you walk
exactly
in.
how the bill's written in those
Exactly,
words.
That's what it
exactly,
says
yeah.
here on Granite State
Basically, there'd
Progress.
be a
Force
trailer
guns.
truck full of guns, and if you wanted to come on campus, you had to grab a gun to get on, right?
I
Yes.
see.
That's how that
Okay.
worked?
I think that's how they worded it.
Yeah. Tell them what it really does.
What it really did was allow, which currently they do now, because there's no law against it. Students wanted to be able to conceal carry on campus in case there was ever a school shooting, so they would not be a victim, or at least they had a fighting chance of not being a victim.
Right.
This is college campuses
College
in particular?
campuses, yeah.
Okay, so everybody's presumably an adult
Yes.
that's affected by this.
Well, you know what I really liked? I don't know what his name is, Burton or something, from Dover, representative. He's about as left as they come.
Yeah.
Probably makes Nancy Pelosi look conservative.
That would be a pretty tough call.
Yes. But he sat in front of my committee when this bill, House Bill 1542, about forcing guns onto college campuses. He said, "Are you guys crazy to vote for this?" He goes, "You want 15,000 drunk students at UNH to have guns?" And I'm thinking, every kid at UNH is drunk? I would hope not, but
Wow.
Yeah, you would hope that there's some sobriety.
well, the way he
Apparently
talked, they're
not.
all drunk.
They're
Well,
all
he's got a
drunk.
high opinion of our state
So-
university.
Yes.
So
Yes, yeah.
is his assertion that the UNH is charging people $20,000, $30,000 a year to come there and get shit faced, drunk?
The
Sorry
impression
about
I
that.
had, yes.
Huh.
And then when I made the remark about it, a few of his friends from that area chimed up and said, well, he didn't mean it that way. And I said, well, that's what
He said.
That's what he said.
Well, that's good because his tribe, I'm sure, is going to push for more state funding of the university system. So why would we
Yeah.
throw money away? At a
Well,
bunch
no,
of
that's
drunk
good
kids?
because instead of forcing guns on them, maybe we should just force booze on them.
Yeah, well, I think they would enjoy that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or sobriety. Could we force sobriety on them?
Yeah, that would be a
Maybe
good thing.
that's the issue.
Oh, now,
Do all the college kids qualify as dangerous people? See, I'm getting confused here.
Yeah, everybody's dangerous that wants to defend themselves.
about that
Apparently.
villain
Okay.
group, what was it? The Resistant Seacoast and then the Granite State Progress.
Sure.
You know how they carry on about, how many children die in schools over guns? Well, it's extremely small. And it really shouldn't be any if we did the right thing, and that's, in my
Yeah,
eyes,
yeah.
was to arm the willing, trained teachers. But then Warren Groen used to be state rep. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I like Warren.
Oh, I love Warren.
He said some dumb stuff, but I liked him anyway.
The second he gets on the House floor, half the place leaves. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, here he's going to say something good.
Yeah, he aggravated so many people. By the end, it was like,
Well, he said, and I checked into it, and he is correct. He said Planned Parenthood, just in Manchester, New Hampshire, kills a fourth grade class every Thursday or Wednesday. I can't remember which day they do the abortion. And I'm sitting there in my chair. I'm going, a fourth grade class they kill every week. And I had to process it because I just couldn't suck that in to think a fourth grade class would be dead every week.
but
When
that's true.
It is true. When I looked into it, that's how many abortions they have every week. Is about 26, 23.
Yeah, so it's about like a fourth grade
But
class.
see, Goffstown, we only have like 12, 13 kids in our classes.
Which is
because
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. We got so many teachers over there.
Yeah. But
Nothing against teachers, but let's have moderation.
yeah,
Sure.
teachers in moderation. There should
Yes.
be like a sign.
Yes.
You got to get a campaign sign.
Yeah.
Teachers in moderation. But yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, that was one of the things that I posted on Facebook is the absolute irony of Planned Parenthood organizing
All of this.
something called Save the Lives, Save Our Lives or something.
Or save the children, yeah. Something
No,
like that.
Save the Lives. I have it.
Really?
Yeah, let me see.
So that's what they're saying is save the lives, but,
Talk amongst yourself for
but
20
they're
seconds.
killing 23 to 26 children every week in just Manchester, New Hampshire. I can't imagine what they're killing across
Yeah,
the
I
country.
posted irony. Planned Parenthood funding and organizing March for Our Lives. March for Our Lives. And that is really, really ironic when you consider, and the other thing is, they have March for Life, right, every January, because that's the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. And in 2012, March for Life, 600,000 people descended on Washington, D.C.
Oh, but that's the other side.
Okay, yeah, March,
okay.
March for Life, pro-family, pro-child,
Pro-life.
600,000 people showed up. I'm sure you saw that on CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, right?
Well, they reported about 30 people showing up.
Yeah, 10 people with a hangover.
Coverage was somewhat sparse.
Somewhat sparse. Okay, so now 1/3 of that number showed up this past weekend
Yes.
for March for Our Lives
Yes.
In D.C.
in D.C. So only 200,000 people, but that got boatloads of coverage.
Got
Yes.
major coverage, yeah.
Okay, so because every year in January they have protests, March for Life, all around the country, including Concord. I don't know
Yes.
how many people show up at the one in Concord, but it's usually pretty well attended.
Yes.
But you don't see Channel 9 there covering it or anything else.
Nope.
So I want to bring this stuff out because people at home might not understand how much they're being propagandized to.
Yes.
And it's relentless and it's constant.
Yep.
They're being lied to all the time.
Yes.
All they have to do to listen to a lie is watch the news.
And all
Yes.
we're asking is that people be given actual numbers, actual facts, actual data, and they can make up their own minds about where they stand
Yes.
on these issues. We know they're controversial. We know there's strong feelings. But let's deal with facts, and then we can have a true conversation. But a lot of this stuff is it's smoke screens.
It is.
Well,
causing
because
people to
because the
react
facts on their
emotionally.
side aren't real. There is none.
No, I mean, I'll tell you something else. And I don't know
Here's a
that
fact.
I don't know that this is
Talk about
true.
this.
Yes.
Well, just a second. I don't know that this is true, all right? But I would be willing to bet, and I'm not much of a betting man, but I would be willing to bet that Planned Parenthood and these other groups that organize this walk for our lives, quote unquote, I am willing to bet that they have almost like an emergency response team waiting for something to happen
Yes.
to capitalize on it.
Yes.
Because it's too effective. They're too effective and too quick.
And where do they get their money?
Well, they get their money. They get some from the morons in Hollywood who.
Yeah. I heard $500,000 checks they were writing.
Yeah.
Clooney did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole list of them with $500,000.
I mean, all respect to the man's talents and the man's professionalism.
And
but,
I'll tell you
Yeah.
but that's a matter of public record. He disclosed it, so I'm just reporting it here.
right, but I'll tell you what the ulterior motive is. Part of the ulterior motive is ignorance, but part of the ulterior motive, as far as I'm concerned, is there's one thing that the very, very wealthy and elite fear, and that's armed citizenry.
Yes.
They all can afford bodyguards,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But the one thing they fear is because the only thing they're so strapped into their lives and how rich they are. The one thing they really fear is somebody that is crazy with a gun.
Well, and they live in gated communities.
I know they do.
All gated, high gates.
Oh yes, high gates. Yeah, all these people who are talking about amnesty for illegal aliens live in gated communities.
Yes.
And they all have armed guards.
And they employ people who are trained in the art of war, or at least violent intervention.
Yes.
But that's what the elite don't want the peasants having guns is what this really amounts to. It has nothing to do with those children in Florida.
And I almost think they think I'm a peasant.
They know you're a peasant.
Yes.
They just may.
They believe everybody else is not worthy.
Yeah.
So this
of
is the
protection.
kind of thing. Do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah,
here
go
and
ahead,
show
jump
this
away.
to the folks? Paul, I know we're asking you to do a lot of
Zoom-
toggle magic there.
Zoom, zoom.
But this is a report that came out, and it's a bit dated. It's 5 years old, 2013. But this was courtesy of our friends at NPR, which, some people say or tend to think is a fairly left-leaning
Wicked
or
left.
progressively oriented news outlet and news network. They do great work in so much as they do great work, in so much as that they report in
Thanks,
depth
Paul.
on a lot of stuff that commercial media doesn't get into too heavily, but there seems to be a bias there. But they shared with us all 5 years ago anyway that the rate of U.S. gun violence has fallen since 1993, the study says. And they were using government data, by the way. The story goes on to tell us that. And in the intervening 5 years, I can't imagine that those statistics have flip-flopped a whole lot.
No, I think they've gone down even more.
Have they gone
Yeah,
down?
that's what I've
Okay.
understood.
So it's important, folks, as you're getting into your discussions and taking in this information, to keep taking in information and verify, and try to stay as objective as you can, because this is an emotional issue, and it's easy to jump to conclusions and get on a bandwagon. And
Yep.
that, unfortunately, is what we're seeing too much of.
Yeah, if you look at this organization that did the bullet holes on what I'm embarrassed about is I didn't make the list. I made the F. I got an F on that report card. What's the group that does this, John? What was it? What was their name?
The Resistant Seacoast.
Okay, if you go to their website, Resistance Seacoast,
And then it's the second link in.
right. But if you go to
That's how you
if you
find
go to
us.
their website, they're also climate change, and they're for basically equitable distribution of wealth.
Well, I think they vote for Bernie Sanders.
And people have to understand that it's couched in all these different terms like fairness and everything else.
Yes.
But what they're talking about is communism.
Yes.
What these people really believe in is communism. Now, if you take, all you have to do is go to the last century and take communism to its natural fulfillment. Because what happens in communism is everybody wants everything to be fair and equal, right?
Yes.
That's the problem. That's what goes on. And they're idealistic and they want everything to be equal. Well, the problem is there are many, many people who will not work really hard for no more gain than the person next to him that isn't working at all.
Yeah.
So if you're going to motivate people that aren't making a profit, what you have to do is punish them for not doing their fair share.
Yes.
Or people who are dissident and don't agree with your framework, well, you have to punish them too. That turns into places like the Gulag or Siberia, in China,
Cuba.
China. Yeah. What was his name?
Castro.
No, Castro's right-hand murderer,
Che Guevara?
Che Guevara.
Is that the one where the kids have T-shirts?
Yeah,
of
they
them now
don't
and they're
know. They
worshiping?
don't. They
Yeah.
don't know who they're worshiping.
Wow.
It's like they had a
He-
picture of Satan on their.
He's quoted as saying he enjoyed killing people while he was serving as an enforcer under Castro.
Under Castro.
In the early days of that.
Because the thing is, for that system to work at all, and it doesn't,
Yeah.
you have to use force to make it work.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, if you look at
Lethal force.
lethal force, Russia, and I might have the numbers wrong, I think there's 20 million people were killed under communism in Russia. I think it might be more than that.
Yeah, I think it was a little more. Yeah.
In China, to enforce fairness, it costs 60 million to 80 million people in China.
Yep.
In Laos, it was a few million, I think 4 million people. I might have the numbers wrong. You have to look it up. And you should look it up, actually. Laos, it was a few million people. Cuba, tens of thousands of people were murdered. So, for these people, if you go to their website, just go to their website and read it. Read what they're saying. What they're saying and what they are endorsing is communism. And if they get what they want, you better have guns,
Oh yeah.
because they're going to march you off. Well, we'll be the first on the list anyway. So.
Well, why did Japan not invade the mainland?
Yes, because their statement was Japan would not invade the United States because there'd be a gun behind every blade of grass.
Yes. Yeah, and because from what I understood is the emperor ordered the high command of the military to invade us, and he says we can't, and you never said no to the emperor.
Right.
And that's when he came out. He said there's a gun behind every blade of grass, so that we could not do it.
Right.
And I believe that is what's kept us free, and also the majority of the world free,
Yes.
is us
Yeah.
with our arms.
Over the course of the last, 80 years
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
more.
So if you want to learn what this leads to, what these people advocate for, if you want to learn what that ends up at, just look at the history of China, Russia, Laos, or just go down currently. Look in Venezuela. What's happening in Venezuela? That's socialism.
Yes. Yeah, oh, yeah. yeah.
Okay? That's where it is, because it's fundamental.
And-
Okay, so if I have my tablet, it's $300, I got it at Best Buy, right?
Yep.
If you came into the studio right now and said, Gary, I'm taking this, you just take it.
Yep.
Well, why can you take it? Well, it's not yours. Nobody owns anything,
That's right.
right? So you could just take it, right?
Yep.
And I come in, I see his nice jacket. I said, well, I think I'm taking that.
I do like the jacket.
I like the jacket too.
Yeah.
I need a new jacket for Concord.
Well, I'm a Grampian. I want the things on the
Exactly.
Yeah, this is
the leather
you know,
pads.
It's the whole writer on a speaking tour wearing
Yes.
sneakers mystique. I like that.
Yeah, that is really
Yeah, that's
it works.
sharp.
It works.
Yeah.
But
I'm
See this?
envious.
I am
this
too.
little
See,
jacket? Yeah, that matches.
Oh yeah.
my point is if everything is everybody's, then nothing is yours, and there's nothing worth working for.
That's right.
And that's what happens in socialism and communism. People become unwilling to work because there's no point in it.
That's
And
how
that
they
was
fail.
one of the fundamental bedrocks of our Constitution, was the right to own property. If you look at these people, they want to get rid of private property too. I'm not
Yes.
sure that's on their list, but that's the mentality.
Yes.
They might not have that written on their list, but fundamentally they want to get rid of all private property, okay? All property, equalize everything. It's called communism. It's been done, and it always ends badly.
Yes.
And it's important to note that when we use phrases like these people, we're not vilifying anyone.
Yeah, we are.
Somebody
These people.
else. Somebody else
I am.
might choose to.
You might not be.
We're-
I am.
What we're doing is we're calling out bad ideas for what they
Yes.
are.
So when you see a list like this of villains and heroes, they've got it backwards.
Let somebody else try to vilify whole groups of people.
I just did.
Let
Could
them
you-
go ahead and do that. What we're trying to say is that there's better
Yeah.
ways and better ideas, and we got to talk about them.
I have a bullet hole above my name with blood coming out of it. If I did that to Hillary's name and put it on my Facebook, would I make national news with it?
Yes.
And they would they would crucify me, ask me to step down immediately.
Well, what did they do to our buddy Al Baldessaro?
Oh yeah.
Al Baldessaro, after all the stuff with the Uranium One,
Yep.
where Hillary Clinton allowed the sale of 20% of the United States uranium deposit to be sold to a Russian company,
Yes.
which, the Democrats say the Russians are all evil and they're our enemy, we shouldn't trust them. But just prior to that, Hillary let them buy 20% of a nuclear weapon material, stuff to make nuclear weapons, 20% of it to the Russians.
Yes.
Right? So Al Baldessaro said on the campaign she should be tried and hung.
Tried.
Tried and hung
It-
for treason.
If-
because it
if
was
found
treasonous.
guilty.
If
Yeah.
found guilty, because it is treasonous
Yes.
to sell your
Well, it was enriched uranium, and it is
No, I don't-
considered
I-
a war crime or something like that.
yeah. So
So that's sedition.
yeah, exactly. So he said that, and all they did here in the news report was hanger. That's
Yeah.
what made it
That's-
out on CNN and everything.
Yep. Yep.
It may have been a bit excessive for him to choose to say that as well, but I think all he was saying was the obvious. What happens when somebody's found guilty of sedition and treason?
Yes.
There's a consequence that's implied there.
Yes.
That's all he was saying.
That's all he was saying.
But they zeroed in on that part of it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do know one thing that, thank God, thank you. Hillary was not elected.
Yes.
But if she was, I would have never came out because, for one, it didn't ever happen.
You're going to come out?
But I never slept with her.
Are you sure?
Because how many women are sleeping with Trump or had?
You wouldn't have had to deny it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because you know what I do? All the women up to the State House, because I have lost a little bit of weight. And they come up and they hug me, and
Sure.
And I tell them, I say, "Well, who's the really sweet lady from? I think she's from Hudson. What's her name? Mary? Is that her name?
Fritas?
No, I can't remember. I'm terrible with the names.
Yeah, whatever.
But anyways, she's cute as a button, and she's probably 90. So she comes up, gives me a hug, and I said, "You do know I'm going to remember that hug if you ever run for president." Because I'm going to tell everybody, oh, she hugged me. Oh my God.
I was offended.
Yes, I was offended.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But right now I'm not offended, but I'll be offended later.
Yeah,
if you
you
run for
can. Yeah,
president.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
So I tell all the women, give all the hugs you want, but if you ever run for president, I am going to be offended.
I'm going to rat you out.
Yes.
I am.
Because that's, I guess, what you're supposed to do now.
Yeah, it's insane, and it's so profoundly disingenuous what they're doing to Trump right now because Bill Clinton. We spent the last part of the 90s with the newspapers and the press, CNN, all of them, saying, well, it was just sex. What does that have to do with being the president?
Yes.
But he raped people.
Yeah.
He molested people. He assaulted people.
And she stood by him.
And these people that are coming against Trump, it was all consensual.
Every one of them says it was.
If it was true.
Yes. Yeah, some of them he says no.
If it was true, it's consensual.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now it's a big
And they're
deal.
treating it like it's current news.
Well, who was the Democrat lady that ponied up $500,000 for some of these women to come forward? I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And that even made the lamestream media.
We got Roland on line one. Let's
Oh,
see what
cool.
Roland. What did we do wrong this time?
Ready to go, Paul? We're good?
Yeah, go.
Just press the green button once.
Indeed.
Hi, Roland.
Just a little bit of an away.
Howdy, Roland. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I think, would you have, about a couple months ago, did you have a bill in Concord about they're trying to stop people from ordering wine through the mail?
Oh,
Remember that?
I apologize. I do not remember that.
I think you're right, but that's not something I kept track of. We get on some of these weeks when we're voting. I think there can be up to 100 a day anyway, right?
Oh, a couple hundred. Well, then if it's on the consent calendar, we wouldn't have known it. Well, we would have known about it because we would have looked at the bills the night before, but we just skim them.
Okay, I'll tell you how I feel about it. First of all, I'm very, very happy this state here has state-run liquor stores. It's not like Massachusetts. There's one on every corner, a package store,
Yeah,
I
sure.
like the way this is being run, as far as state liquor store. But I think I think people should be able to order wine by mail. I mean, this is a free country. In other words, there's enough for all of us, and also it won't be a big a sale. Not that many people buying by mail, but I don't think there's any reason to stop New Hampshire, Concord people by saying that you can't order by mail.
Well,
at the liquor store.
but the tax man wants to get his dollar.
Yeah. Roland, don't you have any love affection for the tax man?
I'll tell you one thing. I like New Hampshire very much, but the only thing is they say that we don't have no sales tax, no income tax, but we got taxes on boat. We have taxes on campers. We have taxes on about 10,000 different things. So it really, it comes out about the same thing as a sales tax.
Well, yeah, but the problem with the sales tax or an income tax is once you implement it, it's too easy for people in Concord to say, well, 0.5% would be okay.
Yes.
And then
It always goes up.
Oh, it always goes up, and it's relentless. When it's drawn across the board like we have it now, each time they want to bring it up a little bit, they got to come before the legislature, and it's nitpicky, but it's a lot harder for them to really hose you.
Okay, I tell you another thing about income tax and sales tax. If you check all the other states that have an income tax and a state tax, they're still in the hole. So no, it doesn't help out. It just it doesn't really help out by having sales. You just have to pay more money and you get in the hole.
That's
but
right.
If you check the other states that have sales tax and income tax, they're having problems paying their bills too. So
Yes.
so what good is having a sales tax?
Roland, you know what it's like? It's like giving a heroin addict a different supplier.
Yeah.
They're still going to use it.
But
They'll always want more.
You're doing a hell of a good job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Roland.
Thanks for calling in, Roland.
Thanks.
It is like that, right?
It is.
Or an alcoholic. You just
Yeah.
well, they build up tolerance. It's the same thing because they get all this money coming in, and you can see it around you. They'll have so many bureaucrats or people in a department. They never cut people.
No. Well, now they just opened the new women's prison, 3 times the beds, so they'll fill it.
Right.
If they build it, that's why I voted against it. If they build it, they'll fill it.
They'll fill it. They'll find reasons.
Yes.
If you
and-
build it, they will come.
And originally, I was as a state rep. Originally, it was like $26 million. It ended up being a little over $50 million at the end.
Yeah.
But they have a basketball court, tennis courts, a hair salon. Quite a, it's a lot better than a nursing home. So our nursing homes are old and, not as roomy.
Right.
But, at least we got the prisoners, which we do need to treat them humanely. But I think we should treat our elderly first a little better.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a disturbing story today. It wasn't in New Hampshire. It was we only got a couple minutes, but
So we need to
what?
be able to be more articulate as a group who believe in certain ideas and ideals, which most of which are constitutional in nature. We need to be able to respond to the way that bills like this and others are presented to the public. And we're making mention of the fact that the language they're choosing is a little inflammatory and maybe
Doesn't
like
really
you said,
represent-
disingenuous,
Yeah.
about the nature of these bills. We need to get better at articulating what it is we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
Because the public's being hit with this kind of sensationalized version of what's really happening.
Yeah.
And do you have any suggestions for not only for legislators but for the general public about ways they can get around this circus? And
Well, what we need
Better
is some
understand
very wealthy Republicans to buy TV stations, and because the left media is pretty much all of what we have here.
Yeah.
Even and the union leader used to be a lot more conservative than they are today,
Right.
because they're even fallen. And some of the stuff I read, I go, wow. Your forefathers wouldn't have wrote that.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
you can see. Well, I think that's one of the cool things about being in the legislature and being as active as you and I are, and Eric is. You actually go to some of these events,
Yes.
and you know what happened at the events, and then you read what they said about it, and it's like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
it's a completely different
Completely
story.
different story than what actually happened, but they can get away with it because they have the podium.
And that's all the voters are getting, is what the news is telling them.
Yes.
And they react to it. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's
so-
for instance, if you listen to the news, like I said, this past weekend,
Or stuff like
it
this.
was 17-year-old children organized this national protest.
Yes.
They did not even come close to doing that. They were pawns
Yep.
in a national organized protest
And brainwashed.
and brainwashed because they don't know what they're talking about.
No.
But that's it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty discouraging. But I think the times they are changing. If you look at Trump's approval ratings, they're
borrow a
they're
phrase.
going up.
Well, then you really got to double them because where are they getting the polls
Exactly,
from?
right.
UNH?
Yeah, right, because they got the polls that he was going to lose the election by 10 points.
Oh, one time they had some states up 80% over Trump. Hillary was.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, CBS and CNN and all them, they were sitting there on election night going, okay, Trump just won this state. But he can't win the next state.
No way. No way.
Okay, Trump just won that state. But he isn't going to win this one. Okay.
You see Rachel Maddow?
Oh, yeah, I
she's
love her.
She's like devastated. This People, this is not a nightmare.
Yes.
This is happening. This
Yes.
is real.
Yes.
It's like, wow, she's really objective.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, John, Burt, that is what they call you.
Yes.
I believe this because they had that cotton picking election rigged.
They did.
They had it rigged, and they knew they had enough votes in the bank
Yep.
that Hillary was going to walk away with it.
Well, you know what helped us?
So what that meant is Jay Severin used to do a show in Boston until he got stupid, and he used to say, because he was in the trenches, he says a Republican has to win by 5 to 10% to overcome voter fraud.
Wow.
And so Trump probably had to overcome at least 10% voter fraud
Yeah.
to pull that out.
Wow. But you know what's
Tells
helped
you
us was in it, because it was so obvious how they bent Bernie Sanders, and I'm not a supporter of him. I disagree with everything he believes in, but they bent him over the barrel. You know, Bernie Sanders really should have won the primary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
He
the
would've.
Democratic primary, absolutely.
But and that made
Yeah.
even the Democrats go, whoa.
Disenfranchised.
That's the
half
other
their-
thing I
half
don't
their
understand.
tribe.
That did. And I was like, thank you.
Well, that's the other thing.
That helped us.
That's how you know that this whole thing is, we got like 10 seconds. That's how you know this thing was rigged,
Yes.
right? Because everybody says, well, the Russians and Trump rigged the election. Hillary had just rigged the last election.
Yes.
You don't think she was trying to rig that one?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yeah.
Wake up and smell the coffee. Hey, we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us.